Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a topic that, well, it sparks a lot of conversation, sometimes even a little debate. We're talking about understanding Generation Z,
That's right.
and we're aiming to go beyond, the usual headlines and assumptions, trying to see what truly shapes this generation.
It's important stuff.
Our mission on this deep dive is to take a whole stack of sources.
Mhm.
We've got psych studies, books.
A real mix.
Exactly. And we want to pull out the most important bits, the nuggets of knowledge about Gen Z. Think of it as your shortcut, maybe, to genuinely getting it, hopefully with some aha moments, too.
Yeah, and it's tricky because opinions on Gen Z can be all over the place, right?
Right.
Really divergent sometimes. So getting a clear, informed picture, that's the goal. We want to provide that, starting with, well, who are we actually talking about?
Absolutely. This isn't just reciting facts, it's about connecting the dots, seeing that bigger picture, a generation really in the spotlight. So let's dive in. All right, first things first. Let's define our terms. Who exactly falls under this Gen Z umbrella?
Okay, so most experts agree Gen Z includes people born roughly between 1997 and 2012.
Okay.
So right now, in 2023, that means we're talking about people aged, what, 11 up to about 26,
Yeah.
give or take.
Got it. And here's what feels like the really critical point, the big differentiator maybe. This generation, they literally never knew a world without the internet, born right into it.
Exactly.
It's kind of wild to think Google is actually older than Gen Z.
That's a great point. And that digital birthright, it has these really profound implications. For them, life has always presented like multiple choices in everything.
Yeah.
And that fundamentally rewired their social world, especially friendships.
How so?
Well, think about previous generations. Your social circle was often, proximity-based, classmates, neighbors, cousins, whether you like them or not, really.
Right, you were kind of stuck with them.
Pretty much. But Gen Z, they curate their entire social circle online. Follow, connect, block, anyone, anywhere.
Yeah.
You see kids playing, say, PUBG in Helwan, Egypt, seamlessly connecting with players in America from their bedrooms.
Wow. So on one hand, you've got this incredibly accessible world full of choices, but you mentioned their parents. That accessibility meant something different for them, didn't it? How did that play out?
Yeah, well, their parents were also constantly watching them, reacting to this world that suddenly felt much smaller, more interconnected, like a tiny village where everything's visible. One source even called it a wallet.
A wallet. What does that imply?
Sort of this idea of a world so intertwined that information, experiences, they're easily exchanged, almost commodified, which just intensified the parental oversight.
Okay, so we often hear Gen Z called, you Google it, YouTube it, Instagram it, generation, you know, born lucky, didn't have to struggle.
Right, that's the stereotype.
But our deep dive seems to reveal something pretty surprising. Despite all that connection, they're actually statistically the loneliest generation. That really flips the script.
It's a huge contrast, isn't it, to that popular idea? Study after study shows Gen Z struggles the most with loneliness. They're demonstrably, measurably more socially isolated than previous generations were at their age.
That's honestly, it's fascinating and deeply counterintuitive. In this age of constant digital connection, how on earth can they be the loneliest?
Well, this social isolation seems directly linked to broader challenges they face. We see studies showing college students, recent grads from this generation, they often feel not ready for work. They struggle dealing with coworkers, working under pressure. They sometimes get labeled snowflakes, or
Yeah, you hear that term.
highlighting this perceived fragility, maybe an inability to face real-life difficulties. And look, Jonathan Haidt, he's a prominent American psychologist. He's done extensive work here. He described Gen Z in America experiencing abnormally high rates of anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicide. He even called it a national crisis.
Oh, a national crisis. That's strong language.
It is.
Yeah.
And his research, it's based on pretty vast data sets, so it carries weight.
Okay, so it's easy to just dismiss these issues, right? Say they're spoiled or irresponsible. But given what we've just said about their unique upbringing, this digital world, are there deeper causes beyond just, character flaws?
Oh, absolutely. There are definitely deeper factors. One really significant one is parenting styles. How they evolved. You mentioned the helicopter parent term. It was actually coined way, way back in 1969.
Shakespearean, really?
Yeah, by an American psychologist, Holmes Janot, in his book, Between Parent and Teenager. He used it for parents who just constantly monitor, restrict, hover over their kids. like a helicopter.
So it started as just a description of maybe a few parents, but it sounds like it really ballooned into something much bigger.
Exactly. That behavior just increased dramatically over time,
Yeah.
became widespread, it even ended up in dictionaries.
Oh.
And it really peaked, experts say, when Generation X, that's people born roughly mid-60s to mid-80s, and some millennials started raising Gen Z, Gen X in particular often gets tagged as the generation that really embraced helicopter parenting on a large scale.
Okay, but why? What drove that? Why did this intense, overprotective parenting become so common?
Well, there seem to be multiple reasons piling up. Economically, some experts suggest widening gaps between social classes play a role. It creates this stronger parental urge to protect, especially around education, getting ahead.
Right, the stakes feel higher.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that often translates into huge mental pressure on kids.
Yeah.
Achieving maybe beyond what's healthy.
Yeah.
Then you have the intense schedules. Childhood became like a full-time job.
Yeah.
School, then this relentless round of extracurriculars, club sports, multiple martial arts, taekwondo, karate, kung fu, kickboxing, wrestling, Greco-Roman, gymnastics, sumo, you name it.
Wow.
Swimming, piano. Plus this constant, intense competition between students and even parents over grades, getting into prestigious schools. Jordan Peterson, the psychologist, he also points to family size. Yeah, he argues modern parents often have just one or two kids, so all their attention gets focused there. Unlike older generations with bigger families where kids often sort of raised each other.
That makes sense. Singular focus.
Right. And add to that, later marriage, later parenting. Parents in their 30s, older maybe, with fewer kids. They often apply all this knowledge from modern parenting books, websites, media, TV shows about modern families, women's rights discussions, intensely focused on those one or two children.
Okay, so you pile all that on, this constant oversight, this pressure cooker environment. What does that do to a kid growing up? What are the consequences?
Well, paradoxically, it can really bite you in your independence and self-confidence. It creates a sort of fake protection. It shields kids, maybe too much, from reality, from dealing with difficult people, or, frankly, cruelty.
Yeah.
There's a saying from a colleague, Mohammed Tarek, if you worry for your son, want to protect him, throw him to the streets, let life make him a gem.
That's provocative.
It is, but it speaks to that idea of needing healthy boundaries, learning from mistakes. Jordan Peterson talks about this too. So Gen Z teenagers raised like this, they often really struggle when they leave home, college, first job. They can panic when they're suddenly solely responsible for things.
And how does that translate to the workplace? You mentioned struggles earlier.
Yeah, it manifests there significantly. They might lack the psychological mechanisms to cope, to deal with harsh realities, criticism. Think about this. A global survey, over 12,000 employees, including those whose final college years were right during COVID lockdowns.
Okay.
A staggering 91% of the Gen Z new hires reported feeling extreme anxiety at work, struggled with coworkers. It led to mental, physical exhaustion, and many quit within the first 2 years.
91% feeling extreme anxiety.
Wow.
Wow. Within 2 years. It's just such a stark contrast, isn't it? Imagine their grandpa who worked in a mine, seeing them, crying on a beanbag because they can't find creative ideas.
Right. The generational experience gap is huge.
Yeah.
And Eliza Flobby, she's a generations expert historian of values. She also describes the workplace as a terrifying place for Gen Z, where even simple problems can blow up into these big psychological struggles.
Yeah.
It's clear that level of oversight, that curated reality growing up, it has a really profound, lasting impact.
Okay, so helicopter parenting, intense schedules, those are big pieces. But surely not the only reason for these challenges, right? What else is feeding into this unique mix of, isolation and perhaps fragility?
Well, the other massive piece, maybe the defining piece, is that Gen Z is the first generation, literally, to open their eyes to a world already saturated with the internet, smartphones, social media.
Right, the digital natives.
Exactly. And while they are absolute wizards with tech skills, no question, they fundamentally discover the world behind their phone screens.
And that digital upbringing, it must really change how they navigate actual face-to-face social stuff, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge factor. Unlike social media, you can't just click leave group at a party if you feel awkward.
Right. No log out button.
Exactly. You can't just react with a ha-ha emoji while you're actually frowning. You have to, genuinely laugh at your boss's corny jokes sometimes.
Sure.
That gap between the curated, controlled online interaction and the messy, immediate real-life stuff, that can create real anxiety.
So how does this digital reliance show up day to day, even with basic things like just talking to people?
Well, They often lean heavily on the internet instead of maybe figuring things out themselves or even asking parents sometimes. Because online life often feels easy, controlled, even something like a phone call,
Yeah.
which, still kind of amazes us, right? Instant global voice chat.
Yeah.
Studies show Gen Z often really dislikes getting calls. They much prefer texts.
Why is that?
Text let you reply when you want, think before you respond, edit yourself. You could even speed up voice messages.
Control.
Exactly. Phone calls feel like a burden that causes anxiety for many. Too immediate, too unpredictable.
Okay, this brings up that paradox again, doesn't it? They're the loneliest generation, statistically. Yet they seem almost comfortable in that loneliness, or at least they've adapted to it, found ways it works for them online. How does that digital comfort zone affect them long term?
Well, yeah, there's definitely a dilemma there. That digital comfort combined with loneliness, it often drives this impulse to share everything online, every personal detail, potentially.
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Kate Eichhorn wrote a book, The End of Forgetting. She argues the real crisis isn't that childhood is disappearing. It's the ghost of a childhood that can never be forgotten.
Oof, that's powerful and kind of chilling. Forgetting is often a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially those awkward teenage years. Hormones, mistakes, just feeling awful sometimes.
Exactly. The impact is huge. Gen Z teens can have every embarrassing moment, every tough time, every sad feeling potentially recorded, posted. Our brains, mercifully, can kind of block out or soften bad memories over time. But a digital upload of thumb isn't a real one, as they say.
Yeah.
It doesn't forget.
Right.
Those moments just
That's right.
persist online, permanently there, long after maybe the real emotional sting has faded naturally. We even see trends of kids posting pictures while crying or going live while self-harming sometimes.
That's incredibly concerning.
It is. And psychologist Jean Twenge, in her big book, iGen, she really links the severe depression rates in this generation directly to the rise of smartphones and social media.
It makes sense then, doesn't it? Why so many Gen Z memes are about loneliness, depression, failed relationships. It feels like a shared language, almost a coping mechanism.
Yeah, it reflects a lived reality for many. And you see it in broader trends, too. A significant number of Gen Z surveyed say they don't actually want marriage. Yeah. And there was this striking Japanese documentary. It showed teenagers openly saying they prefer virtual girlfriends, like anime characters, over real relationships.
Wow.
Expressing this real fear of actual attraction, the messiness, the vulnerability of it all.
Okay. We've definitely spent a good chunk of time on the challenges and vulnerabilities of Gen Z, and maybe it sounded a bit harsh.
It's easy to focus there.
It is, but we need the full picture. So let's pivot. What are the upsides? What are the strengths baked into this generation?
Right. Absolutely crucial. Because despite everything we've discussed, this is also a very smart, very resourceful generation. They have some remarkable abilities, the potential to be more productive, actually, than previous generations.
Okay.
They tend to be more forgiving, interestingly.
Right.
They often start pursuing goals earlier. That digital literacy, it means they can self-teach anything, anytime, any way they want.
True. Limitless information access.
And they can communicate with the entire world with incredible ease. Plus, they're generally very flexible, very adaptable, more able to change careers, change their minds, their beliefs, perhaps, than older generations who might feel more locked in.
So that paints a much more balanced picture, doesn't it? It sounds like fundamentally they're like any other generation, just uniquely shaped by these really unprecedented circumstances and tools they grew up with.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. They have good qualities, bad ones, qualities that maybe look bad but have a good side, and vice versa. They are fundamentally a product of their time, their digital world, their upbringing. And, it's entirely possible, maybe even probable, that decades from now, academics will look back and they'll say, wow, the good old days of Gen Z. Remember the depression and social media? We never saw better days after them. You just never know.
Huh. That's a thought. Well, this deep dive has definitely unpacked a lot. The complexities of Gen Z, seeing how that unique mix, the overprotective parenting, growing up totally immersed online, how that shaped both their challenges and their maybe surprising strengths.
Yeah, and the key takeaway, I think, is that understanding generations isn't really about judging them. It's not about saying one is better or worse. It's about recognizing just how profound the impact of these big societal shifts, these technological leaps can be on how humans develop and see the world. It's really about perspective.
Definitely. So we hope this gives you, the listener, some food for thought, maybe shifts your own perceptions of Gen Z a bit, or even just inspires you to look closer at how new generations are always adapting, always redefining what it means to, well, grow up in whatever world they inherit.
And that leaves us with a final thought, maybe a question to ponder. What new challenges and what unique strengths might the next generation, Gen Alpha, develop? As technology keeps accelerating, how will our whole understanding of what it means to be well-adjusted keep changing? It's a fascinating thing to watch unfold.